I am Thor, son of Odin, and as long as there is life in my breast, I am running out of things to say.
Great, another broken white boy for us to fix.
That's my secret, Cat.
I'm always angry.
You took everything from me.
I don't even know who you are. With great power comes great responsibility. I can do this all day.
Wakanda forever!
Internets, welcome to another episode of Views from the 616, the blackest MCU podcast in the multiverse, powered by For All Nerds, where we discuss everything in the MCU from the perspective of people of color. I had to slow it down to make sure I got that one out. All right. And as usual, it is one of your hosts, Tatiana King, also known as T'Challa Bread, also known as the Wicked Witch of the Westview, coldest winter soldier ever, and Tesseract Thompson. As always, I'm joined by my very well-dressed co-host.
Thank you very much. It's your boy, DJ Benhameen, a.k.a. the Brother Voodoo Child, the Black Adam Warlock, the Off-White Panther, the Power Toker, John. I'll walk it out, I'll walk it out, I'll walk it out. Black Tom Petty, Karen Civil War, here in the spaceship. Someone on the twitch.tv/4allnerds said they did not understand the Karen Civil War.
We can't help you there, man.
Yeah, I guess they don't live on the internet.
Benhameen is of pop culture's finest. So, yeah, you probably don't live on the internet. That's one of the things, which is actually a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, we're not going to explain that one. We may need to do your internet ninja searches yourself and figure that one out. Mm-hmm. But as said, we are here on Views from the 616. And this is a special episode, actually, Benhameen.
Special edition.
Because we were one of the select few to see The Eternals early.
Oh,
Shout out to Disney for that. I mean, I will give y'all credit for that. Thank you.
You know what? Black people can't do anything to Eternals. It's already got the S on it.
Oh.
You can't be like, I'm going to see The Eternals. It's like, because if it was The Eternal, you already know what we're going to see.
We're going to the Dave and Buster's to watch The Eternals.
You seen Squid Games, like shout out to my DC heads. You going to Dreams nightclub tonight? That was the first time I heard it, honestly.
You've never heard black people put the S on everything?
No, when it was Dreams nightclub. That
Dreams
was the first time
okay.
I was like, oh my God.
Okay.
What are we doing here?
Yeah, black people, we can't change that. But we can we can talk about how we felt about this film.
Yes. Just
to put it all out there, this is not going to be a spoiler-filled film because we saw the film so early. I think it actually dropped November 5th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And this is still mid-October, so we want to give y'all a chance to, unlike other outlets, wink, wink, we want to make sure that y'all are be able to get the full experience of seeing it and seeing, the major plot lines and major details that really should not be spoiled. We're not going to mention that whatsoever. We're going to give you how we felt in depth, but in a way that's not going to spoil the film for you.
Yeah, because I always tell people, let people enjoy things the way that you enjoyed it. That's how I always feel.
Thank you, Benhameen.
I want people to go in the same way that I felt, because I even started avoiding trailers for it, like I do with pretty much any film that I want to see. Mm-hmm. Today I had a chance to see The Harder They Fall. It's excellent. I didn't even watch the trailer for that movie. We posted the trailer and I did not watch it because I wanted to go in clean. Mm-hmm. Loved it.
Yeah.
Back to The Eternals, I want people to have that same feeling. I don't want people to be able to walk in and be like, oh, I'm waiting for this, because one of the end credit scenes has now been spoiled. And so I know a lot of people are going to be waiting for the end credit scene instead of enjoying the film.
Yeah. And speaking of the end credits, just let's to get this out the way. We had mentioned this on our quick social media video that we posted the night that the embargo was up. But the New York, at least I guess it's just in New York. The New York screening, the New York media screening did not even get the credits whatsoever. Literally, they showed the credits, and in the part where they would usually put a mid-credit scene, it cut. And all you saw was the little IMAX, thanks for watching shit. And they said, all right, get the fuck out. And I was just like, yo.
No, I was rolling. It was definitely one of my greatest theater experiences in life. Hearing the disappointment.
Which was better, the complete silence after the end of Infinity War of all of the press, or the complete silence and indignation of the press when we didn't get the credits and credit scene in Eternals? Which one? Which one was worse? This one. Okay.
Easily.
The indignation. I yelled out loud, "You're getting a call from my lawyer." You know, everybody laughed or whatever.
I was rolling. Tatiana had the great comical moment. I could not stop laughing while everybody else is groaning and moaning. I'm just laughing.
Oh, the level of bitching,
yes,
myself included, that was going on in that theater. But how do you bitch when you got to see a whole movie like several weeks before much of the world? So
that's how I felt. And actually today I really figured out why Marvel did that. It's because they were having the red carpet in LA that night. Mm-hmm. And so they did not want to spoil people on the red carpet, which I fully understand.
Right.
And like they said, and like someone else said, they did not want people waiting for the end credit scenes.
Mm-hmm. They're not, instead of focusing on the bread and butter of the movie versus just jumping to the end.
What's going to happen next in Marvel?
Right. Yeah. Right. And also, as you said, because of that red carpet, those people, the red carpet screening, got to see the full.
Yeah, without being spoiled, and that's right. And I fully understand.
They got to see everything. So that being said, you're not going to get any feedback from us on those after credit scenes, because although we do know some details and we may speak to it from a high level, we can't tell you any, and probably won't anyway. We're not going to tell you super specifics. We haven't seen it.
No.
That out of the way, let's get into it. Benhameen, get ready for our Eternals review for all nerds / views from the 616.
Also sponsored by our good friends at Target.
That's right, Benhameen. This episode, our special review, is brought to you by Target. Target is partnering with HBCUs to support the next generation of Black talent, like us, right? We're Black and talented.
Yeah, we're the next generation, all that good stuff. One of the ways Target is teaming up with HBCUs is through Target's HBCU Design Challenge, where HBCU students submit designs to be included in Target's Black History Month collection.
Winners also receive a cash prize, equipment, mentoring, and networking opportunities.
That's right. This year's winners are from FAMU, Bowie State, and Hampton.
That's so funny. When I first went to Howard, I pronounced it Bowie State. It's Bowie.
I pronounce it both ways. Tomato, tomato. We gonna work it out. But shout out to Bowie State out there. We gonna do this. Bowie State, love y'all.
Yes, HBCU love all around. And also make sure you check back during Black History Month to see the latest winners' designs that will be featured in Target's 2022 Black History Month collection. Can't believe we're almost in 2022, Benhameen, this year. Oh my gosh.
It's been a couple of them right now.
Yo.
But shout out to Brian Tyree Henry, Morehouse alumnus.
Yes.
You know him. And
yes, we know as Fastos in the Eternals.
We've been talking about him all episode. We're going to be talking about him a lot more. Also, Paperboi, always on that Paperboi from Atlanta, doing big things, an artist in his own right. And also, like we just said, HBCU love up in here.
Mm-hmm. It's very important and really refreshing to see places like Target really invest in Black talent. Like, obviously, we always talk about the money is important and all of the tools that go along with being an artist. Like, that typically is the hurdle that is hard to overcome. So to be able to provide that just off break, it can make all the difference.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people talk about these big corporations not really helping or not, just throwing some money out there. But I've already seen, even before this, I know Target had a commitment to put more Black designers on their shelves, to do a lot of things that a lot of other places aren't doing. And they always got dope stuff. I can't lie. For comic book lovers, Target got the fire t-shirts. Let me put you on.
Okay.
Get you some. Yep.
And as you're doing that, make sure you celebrate your legacy, invest in the future.
Because together we are Black beyond measure.
Visit target.com/Black Beyond Measure to learn more. Now, what did you expect from this film, DJ Benhameen?
More. I don't want to say more than okay.
What did you think was going to happen before you saw anything?
Let me word this correctly, right?
Okay.
I did not want some of what even though I very much enjoyed Shang-Chi, and I need to watch it again now that it's on Disney Plus. I also thought it fell into the formula of Marvel's origin stories for a character. You know, and Marvel always says they're not doing origin stories, and they don't, but they do in a way. You know, it's like
they did and they did it.
Yeah, and
it's a tried and true formula that works.
I didn't want to see that from Eternals. I'd have to see it again to say if it completely fell into those, but I don't think it did for the most part. I think what they did and the way they introduced this group of characters and this family of characters is something that they'll probably repeat on Fantastic Four, because I felt like this was a very emotional movie and a movie that really got into what it means to be a family, more so than even, the superpowers and stuff. And even though that's not what I was expecting from it at all, because I really that's the thing for this, I had low expectations, right? I've read, I think it's Neil Gaiman who wrote an Eternals graphic novel. I read that. I read the first few issues of Kieran Gillen's new Eternals series for Marvel. And growing up, Cersei and Gilgamesh, the Forgotten One, were members of the Avengers team that I was reading.
Okay.
That's it. And then like them being a Marvel universe and the rare comic that they would appear in that I was reading somewhere else. Like I remember one time Icarus fought the Hulk.
Okay,
Icarus,
that's random. Icarus, yeah. That's random.
So that's what, and I always love how Makari, the original Makari, who's a white dude in the comics, I always loved his costume and how he looked. That's pretty much it, from my knowledge of Eternals. So I didn't really have a lot of expectations going into this film. I was just hoping for I know the Celestials were going to be featured in it. And that's my heart. Y'all can't see the Galactus up here, but the cosmic side of the MCU is something I love to death. And so I've been waiting for them since they first showed up in Guardians of the Galaxy, when they showed the imagery of them, and then when you see the dead Celestial nowhere in his skull and all that. So I've been waiting to see living, breathing Celestials in the MCU for a long time. So that was my one big expectation for this film.
All right. For me, I had two expectations. One, I expected it to be good, simply because this was a completely different direction than I was personally had personal knowledge of and understanding of. I knew, generally speaking, nothing about, except for the conversations you and I have had. I have no prior real knowledge of Celestials or Eternals or all of the big universe-making characters and figures within the Marvel comic book universe and the hierarchy thereof. Like even when we were shooting our review for the What If All-Star episode that we just had, check that out on your favorite podcast platform. There was a conversation with myself and the Blur girl, and I was just like, girl, what's the hierarchy? Who's the middle management here? Like, I just to have that understanding, I had none. So I expected at least some type of entry into that world and explanation, if you will. And also because of that, because that's just another layer of weirdness, just because it's just different from what we're used to as that we've seen so far in the MCU, I just expected a different story. The way the cast ensemble had been brought together, all the different literally backgrounds that they have, and we talk about ethnicity and acting background and experience and just levels of where they are in their lives. And the different type of people they are. Just from that alone, I expected something different than what we've seen in the MCU thus far. And for this film, much like you, I just wanted to see a departure from the whole origin story format. You mentioned, you used Shang-Chi as an example. Yes, the story was different and it was more family focused than with other stories. At the same time, there were still familiar elements that had been used before. And again, I don't fault that from them, because that's something that still works, right? It still tracks when you're talking about audience engagement and understanding and all that stuff. Kevin Feige, he know what he's doing, all right? So what do they say? Don't fix nothing that's not broke. So I did want to see I keep using the word different because that is the best term at this space. Different than what we expect. And I expected an epic film.
Yes.
Because of the scale of what these characters are supposed to represent. I literally said cosmic world building characters because that's what they are in the comic books. So I was like, well, we're on that. Like, we're talking about Galactus and above. And at this point, Galactus is a shrimp compared to these characters. I mean, and especially when you look at stuff like what we've seen in Disney Plus, what we've seen in Loki, what we've seen with the TVA, what we've seen with Kang, like there are 60 concepts that our puny human minds cannot understand or even begin to fathom. There's so many stories and things happening that are just miles above what we've understood thus far in the MCU. So that's why I had such high expectations for it, as just as being a new story.
Yeah. My other expectations were, like I said, are the cosmic stuff, like the stuff you talk about, like the hierarchy. I always tell people a lot of that stuff just depends on who's writing that issue of which comic. You know, like at certain points, the Celestials are bigger than Galactus. At certain points, Galactus is one of the three main forces of the universe. Between death and eternity is Galactus. You know, that's like another thing that's always
See the balance. He's the balance guy.
Yeah, but it's also so funny to me. And as a kid, that's what made me fall in love with Galactus, when this concept, I guess, was introduced or reintroduced. And when I was reading it, I was like, "Oh, that's ill," and like he'd have these meetings with eternity, the personification of eternity, and then death, would always be there. And I'm like, it's like Galactus and eternity shaking hands and talk about being brothers. I'm like, yo, this dude's the man. But it's like eternity, which is like everything in the universe and all of time and space, and death, which is, nothingness. And then a man who eats planets. It just never really like.
You said a man like he's from Florida. Galactus is Florida, man. He just eats planets.
Yeah, I'm like, when as an adult, it didn't square up for me. But
yeah. The
Celestials are what they are, and just like we said, when we're getting into that level of grandeur from Marvel, that we've been hinted at, and like I say, there was this one shot of the Celestials in Guardians of the Galaxy where I'm like, oh, and then we saw nowhere, so I know they're out there, but as a comic reader, to start getting into these bigger, larger concepts was something I've been waiting and anticipating for a long time. Yeah.
Yo. So with all that said about what we expected, what did we get? What did you get out of it? Did you get what you expected? Did you get above and beyond? Did you get a subpar experience? What did you get, Benhameen?
I need Luna to put that like wavy, right now, and I need like me to be, like drawn into a black hole or something, because it like, all right, like we know the Celestials are in this movie. All right, we can say that. How Chloe
Zhao. And apologies if I mispronunciate you. It might be Shu, but Chloe Zhao.
Yeah, Chloe Zhao, the director of this film, how they introduced the Celestials, how we see them, and I'm not going to spoil it, but how it's like done. It actually reminded me of RoboCop. How RoboCop is like...
RoboCop.
Yes. How, if you've seen RoboCop, how he's first shown to the audience is really ill, because first you keep seeing through his vision when he first wakes up, all the scientists, and then you see the back of his head, and then you see like a shot of him through some foggy glass where you can't really see him, and then you see his gun at the training range, and you see this big ass gun letting off, and then you finally see RoboCop when he busts in, when he does his first job. So you don't see the reveal of what this is, and it's like how Jaws was like that. And they use a technique of that type of thing. And it helps because the grandeur of these Celestials is something that needs, it's like you got to be able to like appreciate this. It can't just be something like, oh, here they are, here's the Celestials, and that alone, I just commend them so much on. And we got to see it in the IMAX theater. I've not been in the IMAX theater in over a year.
Same. Maybe 3 years, because I don't remember the last time I paid for an IMAX movie.
I can't remember. And it was beautiful.
It was worth the IMAX.
That's the thing. Like, I haven't seen Nomadland, but I know Chloe can shoot these shots. I know that's her thing, and so, or their thing. And so to see it done to a Marvel film, there's just these beautiful shots. And as much as the giant widescreen shots are so dope, there's things that she does or they do with like the close-ups of actors where it's like extremely close on their face and they're having these emotional conversations between one another. And it's just beautiful. It was a beautiful movie to me. And the emotional, like I said, the thing that I did not expect, and what the trailer once again, if Marvel lies with these trailers, the trailer makes it out to be like they're this new Avengers type team. And that's not what the movie is about. Even though the Eternals are this group of extremely powerful characters,
Extremely.
they are a family first, and they're a group of people who've been together for 5,000 years.
Yep. More.
And more. And that the relationships between these different characters, the relationships we see with the outside world in them, was just exceptional. I got to meet Gemma Chan on the set of Captain Marvel, and she is stunning in real life. But then just the
sweetest. She was in Captain Marvel.
Yeah, she plays one of the Kree, and she's in full makeup.
Oh,
yep.
Wow. So playing two characters in the same MCU.
That's
universe.
They're past that now. They're letting letting it ride now, as they should.
Yeah.
And she's stunning, but she's also such a sweet and kind and just personable individual that I got to meet. And then to see her as Cersei, one of my favorite characters, the only real Eternal that I'm really familiar with. And she rocks. Like, where I cannot wait to see Gemma throughout the MCU. It's just like with Shang, where actually I was more hype over Zhang Li, and I want to see her throughout the MCU. And now I want to see Cersei, like her on the Avengers. I need it now. I need it. I need her perhaps leading the Avengers,
I can see it.
I can see it. So what well, I got more, but what did you,
What did I get from this? What I got overall was quite literally a love story to humanity, a love story to Earth. As you said, a very personal story about family. And I noticed that even like with Shang-Chi, and perhaps it's just the backgrounds of the directors that have them focus on the importance of family. And again, this is not to say that there's never been familial elements within the other MCU films, but it was just done in a very beautiful way that made a lot of sense and instantly relatable. And within the Eternals, I just felt like, damn, I'm part of that family too. Like it was explaining the importance of humanity and an importance of thinking of the best of humanity. Yes, as Agent Smith says, humanity is the cancer and we must be eliminated and all that other stuff. However, when you look at it from the perspective of a God that creates humans and they love them, right? Like, and they want to make sure they're doing well and all this other stuff. When you look at it from the perspective of a creator looking down on their creations, or even a parent looking at their child, right? You see they're looking for the best, even within the worst. They're looking for the best in the worst. And that's the kind of the overarching theme within this film. And because it was done in such a masterful way, Chloe's directing really makes all the difference here. And it gives you a beautiful, really rich story that's weighty. And I didn't say that's what I expected, but that's also what I expected. And that's also what I got. I felt something different in the air about this film. Once again, not to say this is not saying the other films weren't weighty, the other films in the MCU. It's just this had a different type of weight to it. Could be, as you said, Ben, the grandeur of it all and what they really represent. It's just, this felt like a deeply emotional, impactful film, more so than I've felt before. And I felt that that's what I got with this. I got a film that was funny, that had perfect comedic timing. I got a film that was shocking in some of the dialogue and the lines that they included in the film. And just simply because it had the audacity. Like, it had the audacity to represent, even though like you're looking at the Eternals as these untouchable gods, you're looking them, they're approaching life as fallible humans too. And I think that's probably why I was able to relate to them so much, and how I immediately, they imprinted onto me like almost immediately when they showed up on screen. And the film moved at a not too fast, but a brisk pace, even though there was a lot of exposition, because this is still origin, right? So you still need the dialogue to explain certain things. You still need those shots and those scenes that tell you all the, as you say, they was together for centuries, right? All the different points in time and all the stuff that happened in between that. However, they delivered it in a pacing that I never felt like, okay, this they dragging it, or oh man, this is going too fast. I just felt comfortable. Like I want to spend time with these characters. I want to spend time with this story. And I would love to be in the room with the characters, just shooting the shit.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean, again, by the relatability of it. Like it's such an enjoyable film. Like if you took away the aspect that this is the MCU and it's Marvel and all that, it's an enjoyable film about people getting along and not getting along and going through their complexities, their interpersonal relationships. It just makes sense as a human story.
I mean, there's so many, like, okay, let's talk about a character, like what I do know of the Eternals, right? A character like Sprite, who I'm not much of a fan of in the comics, because normally Sprite's eternal thing is that Sprite is this little kid while the rest of the Eternals are grown. And that always
they appear to be adults, yeah.
Yeah, and that always causes problems, in one way or the other. And I just never really got it or cared. In this film, that, of course, comes up again, and it floored me. Like there's moments in it that I'm still thinking about, like we saw a couple days ago now, and I'll be thinking about it till I see it again, honestly, until, because it's just, like we say, it's very human questions that we all go through, and that these characters are asking themselves, even though they are, thousands of years old. It's still
powerful beyond measure.
Yeah, it's still questions that all of us can relate to, and that are really hitting me because, like I say, now I really relate to Sprite in a way that I never did before, and this film made me do it, where I'm like, wow, that's some ill shit, and I feel the character's pain and their struggle, and like I said, I relate to all of them, and there's something about it, like, even when the casting was announced, right, and y'all, like, well, two things I want to address. One is, like, when you were talking about the Agent Smith thing, and that's something that I've reiterated myself, where I'm like, yeah, humanity be effing up all the time, and, the world might be better without us. But at the same time, I hold such a hope and love for humanity, and the art and everything that we've done, and the beauty that we have in the worst moments, and how we treat each other in the worst moments, and how, like, even though there's structures put in place trying to keep us apart, and, for the last how many thousands of years, fuck the world at the cost of humanity, I don't believe that's humanity. I believe these structures have ruined what humanity is. And so
the core values of what humanity is supposed to represent.
Yes. So because of that, I love that this movie is talking about those core values of what humanity is supposed to represent, and trying to appeal to those core values and the best of humanity. But back to the other point I want to make, like, when Eternals was first announced and the casting was announced, because I'm in a lot of different, chat groups and stuff, talking about comics and everything, there's a lot of people who are fans of the Eternals, and they're like, oh, they got a brown-haired dude as Icarus. He's blonde. And they got a black woman as Makari. He's a white dude. Why can't you create your own characters? That eternal talk, that's always goes on. Actually, in the comics, the Bollywood star, I cannot remember the character. Kingo is a Japanese man. And I actually did, like, Japanese action films at one point or something instead of doing Bollywood. Okay. So they flipped that, and it works great in the film. And, we have Phastos, who's a black dude who usually looks kind of brownish in the comics, but, it's debatable, but now they got a black ass Brian Tyree Hill. And those things that I'm such a big fan of, because I always say, like, as much as I love new characters or characters who were originally created with the intention of being a person of color, I also love that any representation on screen, any inclusion, when it's done right, and this was done right. Like, they don't just make him a Bollywood star to make him a Bollywood star. They don't just cast Brian Tyree just to cast Brian Tyree. They go all the way with this, even though he's an Eternal, he's still the Black Eternal, and and that his family relations
are informed. His family relations are informed by his nature and by his character. And since we're talking about the characters, let's talk about the cast then.
Yeah,
and we can start with Brian if you like.
Yeah, well, but let's start with Icarus.
Yeah. Okay, Icarus played by Richard Madden, who Benhameen reminded me completely fucking went over my head. That's fucking Robb Stark from Game of Thrones. And I was just
did not know.
oh,
There's a moment. There's several. Actually,
he's
there's
fine as
several
hell
moments
in this film. Jesus.
I mean, I thought y'all knew this man was attractive. Why you think he was
Well,
playing Rob Stark?
because I didn't pay no mind to bitch ass Rob Stark in fucking Game of Thrones. I was like, he's an idiot. Like I didn't pay, and I didn't put two and two together. Like he looks really fine in this film. I'm just saying.
I paid a lot
he
of
looked
mind.
like that in Game of Thrones.
When Rob Stark left, when he made the dumbest move ever and left for that shorty, I understood. Like I was like, that's an idiot move, but
idiot.
If it's gonna be for anyone in this world, yeah, it's you know that was. But yeah, Rob
Richard Madden, who plays Icarus,
and that was one of the first complaints I heard is that he's blonde in the comments, blah blah blah. And for anyone who's seen the trailers, Icarus resembles a Superman type character.
Mm-hmm.
He flies, he's super strong.
He got the beams coming out his eyes.
And this is done by intention. Like I think when he was created, that was what he represents. You know, the blonde hair, the perfect, Eternal. And so white man. And so how they flip Icarus in this movie without any spoilers is one of the greatest things I've ever seen. I loved it. You know, I loved it. And it gives him such pathos. It gives him the character such meaning. Richard plays the shit out of this role. You know, you feel his actions.
Does. Oh my God.
Yes, he plays the shit out of this role.
Yeah.
And
you said everything I'm thinking in terms of the meat and potatoes about him.
Yep.
I just want to add on again that he's fine as hell. That's all.
I mean, like I said, I thought y'all knew this.
No, went right over my head. Because I'm mentioning Game of Thrones, let's mention the other person who was also from Game of Thrones, Kit Harington. He plays
Lower Your Expectations.
Dean. Lower your expectations.
Not because Kit's great. Just lower your expectations.
Yeah. What's his character name? Because like I said, I forgot his character already.
Dane Whitman.
Dane. I said Dean. See, Lord. Yeah. Just when we say lower your expectations, just lower your expectations of what you think he's about to do in this film because it's not it.
Yeah.
He is in the film.
He is in the film.
He does play his role. That's it.
For comic book fans, you know, this is like, it's not a spoiler. If you're a comic book fan, Dane Whitman is the Black Knight. You know, he's a character who possesses. It's
also not a spoiler because it's literally right here on Google. If you Google Eternals cast.
Okay, well he possesses a thing called the Ebony Blade. He walks around in armor. He was a long-term member of the Avengers, and that's pretty much it. You know,
what's the Black Knight's power? Does he have powers?
No, the Ebony Blade is a magical blade that goes back centuries to like Excalibur. It might be Excalibur, and it kind of grants him some type of powers at times, but it also has a curse on it. I always found him to be like a whatever character. You know, honestly, I never read those stories where he was that dope. So, you know, maybe the MCU would do better by him, or maybe there's some, you know, Black Knight stories out there that I just don't know about. Let me know on twitch.tv/4allnerds if there are. But
John, I don't want it snow.
Yeah. The funniest
I don't
thing
want it.
to me is I was telling Tatiana after this is how the Game of Thrones for like 7 seasons straight refused to let you realize that Kit Harington is not 6 feet tall. You know, they always shot him from below, and you always think Jon Snow is this, you know, giant heroic character. And the MCU quickly reveals, you know, that Black Knight is...
that he's not.
Yeah, that he's not.
Yeah. And
he's there. I mean, he's a part of the movie.
So we also have you mentioned already Brian Tyree Henry, who plays Phastos.
Mm-hmm.
His character, and also the names of the characters are, I mean, depending on how you're looking at, these are derivatives of Greek or gods that you already know. So Phastos is kind of a derivative of Hephaestus, however you pronounce it. And if you know who that god is, that's like the god of like he makes shit. Or if you play Overwatch, that's Jornborn, like you build shit. So that's his character.
He's your support on your team.
He's a support on the team. That's another thing. As I watched this film, I just made everybody like RPG characters. So he's definitely a support character, and he is like in this film, like he supports all of his family, and I think Brian Tyree is a good actor.
He's a fantastic
actor. Do any type of character.
Yes.
Like any type of character.
Yeah.
So what can we say about him that's not like spoilery?
Well, we can say, and this is well known, that he is
Mm-hmm.
the first openly gay character in the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
He plays, he is married in the film. He has a
Mm-hmm.
family outside of the Eternals. That's
Mm-hmm.
all known. I thought that was beautiful and so well done.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a throwaway by any means. I think it's a big part of his character. And I just thought, seeing that family on screen, seeing that Black family, man, it was great.
Yeah. Family of color. The family of
Yes.
color really, really matter. Black and of color.
Yes.
But like I just like that the Fastos character was just reminding me of people that I know in my own life, like my friends and people within my family, like the way he reacted to certain, and again, like you said, the Blackness was there, right? The way he reacted to certain people and the things he said were like, damn, I would have said the exact same thing, my man. Like exactly the way you said it, that's how I would have said it, right? And y'all know how we talk. So I appreciated that.
No, I loved it. And like you said, I think he's a fantastic actor. I think people know him as Paperboi so much that they associate him with Paperboi, but I think he can play any type of role. And I think Paperboi himself
Paperboi
is a fantastic,
is very complex character.
Yeah, a complex character and a fantastic
from
showcase for
Atlanta,
him.
the show. For those who don't know where Paperboy's from,
you need to find out.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Lauren Ridloff, Makari.
Oh,
first of all, I want to see way more of Makari.
There we go.
Okay?
That's the main thing.
I need to see way more. Makari was also, just like how Fastos was a scene stealer in many areas, Makari was as well, because Makari was just always very quick-witted, and the shit she was saying, and also I don't know if that's the first depicted MCU character that's deaf, and you see them like when anyone's talking with her, they very seamlessly go between ASL and just speaking out loud in different languages and all that stuff. So she may even be signing in different languages at one point. But I just thought, and again, I don't know if that's the first depiction, but it was a very prominent depiction. Like I said, I just wanted to see her more because her character was amazing. And again, we're telling y'all stuff that's just already available, not spoilery. Her character, if you see her in the trailers and stuff, she has super speed.
Yeah.
And so just if you know the Flash and Quicksilver and all that, and just can imagine the things that they do with their powers, think of that, but on a God level. So the shit that she be doing with her powers is absolutely phenomenal, and she was just a joy to watch. And like I said, I really like the interactions between everyone. Like they didn't other Makari, which tends to happen with characters that are deaf or have disabilities or anything like that. She was just part of the team, and this is just how it is. Like it just reminded me walking down the street when you get on the subway. If there's a group of kids that one happens to be deaf, they just talking to each other like this is just regular life, and I like that it was just normalized.
Yes. And I just think that I wish there was more of her. That was my only thing. Because like I said, I'm a big fan of Makari. I know a lot of people are mad because, it's now a Black woman playing Makari instead of the traditional white dude. And I didn't care. I thought I didn't care from the moment she was casted, obviously, because you know me. Anytime they switch it up, let's go. Less white people in the cast, that's better for me. And so I thought that was great. I thought she was so good. I thought the depiction of her powers was different than how the Flash or Quicksilver has been shown.
Very different.
But still a very effective use of speed. And so that's the other thing about it. Like the Eternals, as we see, a lot of them are kind of akin to what we've seen from the Justice League. So you start to see a lot of these things that you wanted to see, like Flash and Superman type characters on the same screen in an MCU movie, and it's fuego. It's fuego.
Leah McHugh, I believe that's how you pronounce the last name, plays Sprite. Heartbreaking character.
Oh,
heartbreaking. And again, exceptionally well played. Like these characters and the trials and tribulation each of them go through really hit you different. You feel for what they say and what they do and how they're dealing with it.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know if it's the direction, like I say, those close-up shots, the way Chloe was so close to these people when they're talking. But it's like days later where I'm like, Sprite, Droog, Fastos, Athena, Gilgamesh, Icarus, like these my peoples now, like
they my friends.
Yeah, I feel like they've been in the MCU forever
homies.
now. Like literally,
they my woes.
like how they've been down, how they've been on the low in the MCU forever. That's how I feel like they've been there with all these other characters. Like they rate, and it's how Marvel does that. Like I don't even say Shang-Chi and them. Like I remember after Shang-Chi, I was like, yo, Z Lang, I keep saying, I want to see her in everything. But it's like all these characters now I want to see in everything.
Yeah.
And I might relate to them more than even characters who I've seen in MCU forever.
I definitely damn sure do.
Like
I definitely damn sure do.
As much as I love Thor, I relate to these characters more than I Thor, in a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Party Thor got a leg up on MCU live action Thor, if we being honest.
Big Blue Loki got a leg up on everybody, so yeah.
I'm saying.
Confident Loki.
Confident, secure in his Frost Gianthood.
Yeah.
Frost Gianthood Loki. I like.
Is the winner.
We have Barry Keoghan or Kagan. Apologies again for the mispronunciation there. That plays Droog.
Yes.
I don't know. We want to say too much about his character, but again, just a character that you grow to love and understand his position. That's the thing. Each person has such distinct, different personality than the rest, and they all puzzle pieces that fit into a larger picture. And then it's when you really get to learn about their powers and why they're doing what they're doing, it makes all the more sense why they fit together and why it makes sense for them to be this family.
Yeah,
I liked him. I liked the actor. It made sense to me. I don't have really anything extra to say about him. What about you, Ben?
Yeah, without spoiling too much, I will say this is one of the funny things. While I'm watching the movie, and this is something I've done with the comic books, I've always confused the Eternals with the Inhumans. Like, I always forget who's on who, And so Droog, I kept thinking was Maximus, Black Bolt's brother. And Maximus always goes crazy and always does evil shit. So I kept.
So you just waiting for him to do some wild shit.
And also, Keegan's face is kind of like the bad guy face. He got that like.
His name is Barry. He does have that. I'm the villain in this film face. Yes. Very Joffrey like face. Yeah.
And then, like you say, I grew to understand his position, and he quickly became one of my favorites. And I love Drew.
That's a good point, Ben, what you just said about position. Everyone has different positions on how they feel about how they move in life, and you know that whole there's two sides of the story, that stuff, like it was really personified here. Like everyone has a different position, and then you understand where they're coming from. You're like, all right, I understand. Whether you agree with it is another story, but you understand their motives.
Yes, and whether you agree with another story, and it's like you say, they have all position on life and all different position on how they feel about humanity. And you come to agree or understand, or at least relate, to all of their positions in some way or form. And then when they all come around and they all grow, they all have distinct arcs where they learn and grow throughout the movie too. Yeah.
Kumail Nanjiani.
Yes.
Let's play Kingo. He was funny as hell. He surprised me because I had not because he was funny. Like he's always been a pretty humorous guy. Just I didn't know that they would play that character like that. And it just laughs throughout the film. And one of those characters that say the quiet parts out loud. And and it was really enjoyable. And again, when I say the film was funny, I'm not saying that every 5 seconds you was laughing. I'm not saying that it was overdone. I'm saying it was perfectly balanced, as all things should be in the word of Thanos.
Yeah, and that's like one issue that, as much as I love Thor Ragnarok, is that it constantly lays on the jokes. And sometimes even the MCU gets into this thing of like the snappy banter. Every character has to have snappy banter.
No, Kingo was snappy than a motherfucker.
Kingo's snappy than a motherfucker, but not every character in this film is snappy than a motherfucker. And the heartfelt stuff is way more than the jokes, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Like even Kingo's character has a moment that I just, oh my God. I can't stop thinking about it because it's just like, God damn, that's heartbreaking.
Speaking of hearts, Don Lee, who plays Gilgamesh, I think he's one of the hearts of the film. Like we talked a lot about Gemma Chan. She is a heart. Don Lee is also a big heart. He was actually probably my favorite character in the film. And Don Lee did a bang up job here.
I mean, I can say no more than you said. He's amazing. Gilgamesh is that other character from the Eternals that I knew the most about, like his backstory and stuff. And I think Lee brought another level to it. Just like another level to the character of Gilgamesh, to any portrayal I've ever seen of him. What he goes through, his backstory is just like, that's what I mean. Like his relationship with the other Eternals and his relationship with Thena is...
Their relationships, all of their interpersonal relationships are different and hinge on different consequences, right?
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, like, yeah, I mean, fuck. I can't say no more. Like, it's just so good.
Gemma Chan, you said a lot about her. She plays Cersei. She is the glue that you'll see a lot more within MCU. And I hope to see her in a leadership position as we continue through phase. What fucking phase are we in at this point?
Phase 4. This is not the beginning of phase 4.
Yeah, as we continue on to phase 4, I just hope to see a lot of her. I just completely forgot that she played that character in Captain Marvel. I was just, once again, I'm just like, wait, what happened? She's another Jaimin Hansu that plays every character in every freaking, comic book universe known to man. We mentioned Kit Harington, obviously he played
Hold on,
Dean.
let me one more thing about Gemma.
Yes.
She also played, a lot of people might know her from Humans, the show Humans, when she was exceptional on that. It's a show where she played a robot. Yep, it was I think British BBC show. And
I know her first from Crazy Rich Asians.
Yep, fantastic in that as well. But yeah, a lot of people know her from Humans, so she's always been doing these genre type things. And I said I want to see more of her. I extend that to pretty much everyone in this cast. Like, I think that the Eternals, it was a really tricky thing for them to do, like we said, because a lot of people have been like, yo, where were they at during slavery? And we're gonna talk about all that as well. But it's also like, where were y'all at? Fuck slavery. Where were y'all when Thanos attacked? Where were y'all at?
And that question gets asked. And I think it's even in one of the trailers, they actually show Kit Harington, his character, asking, where the fuck was y'all when we was blipped? What happened?
And that question gets asked, and I think it's going to get expanded on even more later on because of some certain revelations that happen in this film that I'm definitely not going to talk about. But I think that question there's going to be more to that, and they're going to have to answer more about that later on. But
yeah,
I just thought that I loved how they just inserted these characters and gave them these distinct personalities. And Gemma is one of the shining lights of the film, along with pretty much the entire cast. Yeah.
Salma Hayek as Ajak.
Oh, that's a fine one.
Great job, beautiful gowns, and I don't mean that as a shade. I just mean really beautiful gowns. Like
beautiful gowns.
The fit was on point. And we also have Angelina Jolie who plays Athena. Not gonna hold you. I was just like, Angelina Jolie when they announced her being cast, because I was just like, again, I haven't seen her in a minute, and sure we were bugging, whatever, but I haven't seen her in a minute, and I was just like, what's she about to do? And again, not to say she don't have the range and none of this other stuff. Like, clearly this is when you really look at it together, this is her lane, right? This makes sense. It's just that I just didn't expect her name to pop up out of the hat. I was just like, oh, okay, girl, what are you about to do? And her character was also very integral to the story.
I mean, I saw a lot of that, online, and I didn't get it. Like, I don't get it. Like, this is Angelina Jolie. This is one of the greats. Like, whether y'all want to, put her up there or not, this woman is she understands the assignment. I've never seen an Angelina Jolie role where I was like, oh, what's she doing in there? Like, whatever the role is, she does it, And man, like, Thena is that man, dog. Like,
and just when we talk about all the characters in aggregate, I just want to say three things. We said their uniforms, their heroic fits, their champion fits on point. The fits that you see in the posters, the movie posters, incredible. Their powers and the way that they're depicted is also different than what you've seen in the MCU thus far. And maybe the closest you've seen stuff like this is in Wakanda.
And Doctor Strange.
And perhaps Doctor Strange, which should then give you an understanding of the level above in terms of how powerful they are. Like, you've never seen these powers manifested in this way from heroes, really, that I can recall, like from multiple within the same set. I think it's just different, and it's different in a really pretty way. Like, it looks good. And the differences in their powers and the way they complement each other makes sense, and that's one thing I want y'all to pay attention to when y'all watch the different types of powers and how they intersect and interact with each other.
Yeah.
No,
are we done with characters? Are there any more of the main Eternals we need to mention?
Well, no, we covered all of the main characters. We talked about, again, just the overall story and the themes and all this other stuff. Do you want to talk about the implications thereof now? Now that we've seen this and now we know, in a way, we know to a degree where we're headed. What are the implications that come to mind?
For me, the funniest thing, and this is not a spoiler, this is just like the MCU continues to add on, like, it's funny because Marvel Comics back in the day always used to describe themselves as the world outside your window, but just a little twist, right? Because they had, their characters lived in New York. It wasn't like they lived in Metropolis or Gotham. They lived in the our world. They went through real world problems. And the MCU was like that, for a long time. Not so much now. It's like once they did the snap and the 5-year jump, and it's like the MCU is now 5 years ahead of our timeline and everything like that. I feel like they're just like, well, fuck it.
Just throw it all out there now.
Yeah, like, fuck it. Like, we're just going to make this, like, these people on this earth have dealt with half of existence being wiped out by a purple alien.
There really was, now that you mention it, Ben, there really was a fuck it air about this film. Like, like, we just gonna do what the fuck we want to do now. Like, we showed y'all Guardians, we showed y'all talking tree, squirrels, all this stuff. Like, I call it a squirrel, because it's like a rabbit, but you know what I mean.
Early on, the plot of this movie is revealed, and I'm like, well, that's not gonna happen in this film, and then it does. I was like, basically, how you gonna get out of this?
The wildest shit you're thinking about with this film, like, just times it by 3, and that's what you get in terms of the story. Like it just goes in a direction that you did not expect. It really does, and that's probably why I give it grace for that one flaw I see, which is falling back on some of the Marvel tropes that it does when it comes to the film. Like, you said about origin stories, when, like, in every Marvel film there's got to be a big fight, right? There's always that, and again, that's also kind of expected, right?
That's
like,
comic books.
Yes, comic books, right? You're looking for the big fight, so you get that, and it's just like everything ends up leading to that, which is it's also still a trope, and that still happens. But I forgive it simply because it just does it and it just brings you there in a way where you're like, wow, didn't see that coming.
They did manage to avoid the one that Shang-Chi fell into, which is like a lot of CGI. Just there's a lot of CGI, a lot of mindless CGI things for the heroes to kill. Like that, in game they got the big army, so these heroes can just slaughter things.
So you have stuff happening on screen. Got it.
Yeah, and
multiple things.
And also, so there can be violence, and you don't feel bad about watching the violence.
Oh, indiscriminate. I see what you're saying. Just so much indiscriminate violence that you don't feel away. Like, you're just like, all right.
Them cats murder all them Outriders in Endgame. Like, they, War Machine fly by.
But why would I feel bad about Outriders anyway? They're fucking coming to kill me on my planet. Who gives a shit?
But that's the thing. That's what I mean. It makes it easy for you to watch. It's just like watching The Walking Dead when they shoot zombies in the head. You're seeing people get shot in the face, but you don't feel bad about it. As if you were watching a scene of, 100 people get shot in the face. You feel a lot different about it.
I am looking at you. What's that show that's on Amazon? Invincible. Looking at you. That's really hard to take. All those people dying. God damn. You're right. That is hard when you see actual people.
Yes.
Just getting slaughtered left and right versus just random CGI generated creatures.
And this film avoids that because it has a more interpersonal story at the end of it where you're not having like that. And so that I appreciate it, even though it does fall back on big CGI action. But like I say, it's some shit. It's some shit that I just didn't expect to happen. And it's like, and it just leaves the MCU in yet another very weird place. You know, where it's like if I was on Earth at this point, I'd be like, fuck nigga.
What the fuck, bro? No, for real. And that's like, you know how they say like everything keeps happening in New York, right? They like, hey, yo, when the fuck
it ain't even New York no more. It's just the fucking world. It's like, fuck nigga.
The world's like, when do we get a fucking break? Like,
I can't go nowhere in this bitch.
Right. I can't go nowhere in this bitch. Nowhere safe, fool.
Nowhere is fucking safe. As far as like, you know, where it leaves the MCU, it leaves it in a much bigger, like, it leaves it in a place, like I say, once again, it's just one of them things where it's like, what are y'all gonna do next? You know, because
and I think that's why
there's some wild shit that happened.
Why it also feels weird because you can't really.
I already know.
Like a lot of people give us our props about how accurately we're able to predict a lot of the things that happen in the Disney Plus shows. We have no fucking clue what. Like when we left, like in a way, I also did not know what just happened, and then also I can't. That's one. And then once I like started coming back down the baseline, I was just like, well, wait, where are they going with this? And already one of the things that we both thought might happen next already was proven to be wrong. So we're just like, well, shit, what happens now?
Yeah, and then it's like, what does this mean for Spider-Man and for Doctor Strange?
Yo, and then especially, and we'll find out later why this happened, but especially with the recent announcement by Disney of that whole Disney slate of a bunch of Disney movies being pushed back by several months, we're just like, wait, okay, what affected that first? And then how does that affect it? And also, are the implications of this movie, as you're saying, Ben, how is this going to affect the future stories?
Yeah, because it has to. Like,
it has to.
This ain't no shit that goes away. You know, this ain't a Black Widow where it's like, oh, okay, that happened in the past. And well, now we got to deal with, the new Black Widow or whatever.
This isn't backstory. This is giving you information on a global scale.
Yeah, and yet it's backstory and future story.
Yeah,
and
sure.
As far as the pushback, that was we don't know which one of them, but it's one of them being pushed back, and that just makes all Marvel, the whole slate has to be pushed back.
And that's kind of the gift and the curse, right? With the MCU now, like even like it was so masterfully planned that all these movies are interconnected to each other, but then that also means in one piece of the machine, one cog goes down, then that affects the rest of the pieces and the machine at large. So that's why this this domino effect of pushback happened.
Yeah, but I don't know where they go next because, like I say, this is like, and that's something I was discussing with Mellow Marketer the other day. We were talking about the MCU, and he knows some people who are writing on it and stuff and various things. But it's so many different things happening right now, like things that we know about. Let's say that the heroes of the MCU are facing in threats right now, and this has nothing to do with Eternals. I'm not even gonna mention that. The Dark Avengers are being formed by Shorty, right? She's gathering up people. She got White Widow working for her Seinfeld. I can't remember her character's name in the MCU right now.
You're talking about Valentina. Valentina. From Falcon and the Winter Soldier on Disney Plus.
Yeah, so she's
right. She's pulling her team
she's
together.
Pulling her team together, which is obviously going to be a problem for the heroes of the MCU.
Yes.
We also got He Who Remains and the multiverse, being split to fuck, and him now being behind it all. So we got that. They got that to deal with.
The Watcher.
The Watcher and his dumbass
and his shenanigans.
Right? The impact of whatever happens with WandaVision and Wanda.
Yeah, because now she's Scarlet Witch incarnate.
Yeah. So there's it's not just Thanos we're leading up to now. It's not one big threat we're leading up to. We're leading up to major threats. And without giving it away, the Eternals now introduces yet another issue. Like several issues.
Yeah. When do we get a break? Like, you don't.
we feel
Welcome
like
to the MCU.
and we feel like we live on that planet now. It's like,
But you know what? The coolest thing about all this, Ben, I feel like now we're literally living in the comic books now. Because you know how we always talk about how, or whether you're fans or haters of MCU and Marvel and at large, you talk about how there's so many different stories and certain stories have bearing a certain dome and all this stuff. Like there's so much chaos happening within the books. And now we're experiencing that chaos, but controlled chaos if you're really thinking about it. But we're experiencing that chaos in a live action format. And we've never seen this before.
No.
We've never seen it at this scale. So it also makes sense that now we're doing a movie like The Eternals, where we're at like you've gone from a what do they call Earth? Like a very terrestrial scale, now all the way up to cosmic levels. Because that's how much the real life live action films have been expanding up to.
Yep.
Forget the story itself. Let's just talk about the sheer number of people involved. When we talk about production, when we talk about filming, when we talk about writing, when we talk about photography, when we talk about cast, when you talk about all the pieces that make up the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and where I'm just talking about even the people who just work on these projects, we're at a scale beyond what I know in human history at this point. And this isn't hyperbole. This is like literally we're experiencing a live action comic book come to life before our eyes.
Yeah, and it's so wild to me, like, because one of the issues I have with Eternals, and I've talked about it before with the MCU in general, is that it feels like a comic book. Like, as great as this film was, I felt like it was like watching, because it's a long film, it doesn't feel like so much of a film as like the first whole season of a show. But it ends and I'm like, I want season 2 right now, And that's the problem with that's like the gift and the curse once again of the MCU, because it's like it feels like, you want to binge watch these shits even though they don't exist yet, because it's like it leaves you and you just want more of it. And I will say that The Eternals tells a complete story, but it doesn't. If that made sense, you know what I mean?
It tells a complete story, but it gives you a cliffhanger.
Yes.
Which I guess all good stories do that are bound to continue anyway. It is more of a serialized stories as opposed to a kind of one and done situation.
Yes. And so that was great and it wasn't, if that made sense.
But it was only infuriating because you enjoyed it. It was only infuriating. And you only feel like that because you're like, well, wait, I want the next episode. And that's how Marvel gets you. That's the crack in the recipe.
Because I want to see my next episode of Athena and Gilgamesh and the crew and all my fam, and Cersei and, Icarus and everybody. I want to see my next episode. And it's like, well, you got to wait 3 years.
It put its hooks in you. So
yeah.
And that's exactly how it works. And I'm not sure if we have any more to say, but I did want to mention that the film runtime is 2 hours, 37 minutes, just because you mentioned that it was long. Because when you first said it to me, I was like, what? But it didn't like feel.
Oh no,
like
it's up there. No,
Again,
not at all.
It just felt like I just want to see more.
Yeah.
And yeah, the release date, the public release date is November 5th. So there's a little bit of a ways to go before everyone can see it.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's it. Like we said, we can't really talk about the extra after credit scenes. We've heard of them now, and I know what they represent, but we don't want to spoil that for y'all because we want y'all to walk in to this film and
Fresh
to experience for yourself and not sit there and wait for that. And please do that. Don't wait for the scenes because you're going to really want to enjoy this film for what it is, the story it's telling, the message it's giving, all that type of things. I want people to appreciate that and really, because I effing loved it, man. Like, I can't wait to see it again.
In the words of Law Roach, the Eternals did what needed to be done.
There it is.
And yes, this film is giving when it comes to every aspect, and minus, like I said, little depending on who you're talking to, the potential flaw in just typical Marvel approach. Besides that, it's just really something that everyone's going to enjoy. There is something that you are going to really latch onto within this film and ride through the end. And it can end up being very emotional for you as well. So I would just say be careful, especially if things trigger you or you are just an emotional type person. Even if you're not, you'd probably be surprised that it might make you cry a little bit.
I'm still thinking I'm still hurt,
might be hurt. So
Man, I'm hurt. And also, we got to mention real quick.
yeah.
The movie is sexy. You know, there's some hot fucking action to the max going on.
Oh
in this
my
movie.
goodness, I cannot stand some of these reviewers out here. But anyway, that's besides the point. Now that
But
we said all that,
it is. I ain't
moving
gonna
on, Ben,
lie.
we're not going there. Ben,
I
we're not
wasn't
doing
expecting
this.
all that.
Ben, we're not doing this.
They hot.
We're not doing this. Okay.
Sexy.
Thank y'all so much for listening to our Eternals.
Sexiest Marvel movie ever.
Eternals. No spoiler review. In a few weeks, we'll have maybe not as long of a review as this, but we'll actually talk about like in depth and spoilery. We'll talk about like certain scenes and things that we just found funny. We're gonna do it.
We might have to get another All-Star review up.
We might have to do an All-Star review. We're gonna talk our shit. So make sure you are following us on your favorite social media platform. I'm at Tatiana King. He's at DJ Benhameen. Follow the crew, the fam at For All Nerds. Also at Views from 616. Follow us, subscribe to us, whatever the button says on your favorite podcast platform. We are on every podcast platform imaginable. Big us up, rate us 5 stars, put up your comments about how amazing we are, or put up your comments how you don't like the way I look. Too bad. Benhameen is holding up one of many amazing pieces of merch you can purchase in order to support For All Nerds. The little bit of money we do get from these merch sales goes directly back into the podcast. And everything that we do in terms of raising money goes directly to paying for people like our editor, What Up Luna, our social media manager, Hello Chica, different people on our team that do different, like whether they're interviewing or streaming or whatever. Shout out to Uncolored Page. Shout out to Portia P, who's going to be returning soon when we start doing Castle Black again.
Shout out to Richie Rich.
Shout out to Richie Wave, my guy. Richie_Wave, my guy. He is our videographer, editor. I don't know what he's the shooter, okay? TM. He is the shooter. And he helped make our New York Comic-Con experience professional per usual. So you're going to see mad content drop on our YouTube page of all of the panels that we attended and covered, of our own panel, the Black Businesses in the Nerd Space. Thank you everyone on the panel. On that panel that was just amazing. And thank you to that full house that we had at New York Comic Con as well. Again, you'll be seeing that soon on our YouTube, youtube.com/ForAllNerdsTV. As I said, Benhameen had that beautiful For All Nerds mug. You can get that design on a bunch of different merch, along with such as our Wong Was Right tees, or my tee and his sweatshirt that he's wearing. We're like the Splash Brothers today with the matching fits. But yes, you can get this and many more incredible designs. Shout out to Chrissy Chung, Sketch Sawyer, and everyone who has been supporting us.
Latina Scribbles.
Latina Scribble. I was just about to say Latina Scribble. She helped us with this Wong Was Right design. You can get that at tpublic.com/stores with an S/ForAllNerds. And go to our Patreon, patreon.com/ForAllNerds. Patreon folks, I told you we're dropping free stuff for you this week. Free things are coming for you from Comic-Con, from all sides, okay? It's all dropping just for you. You get the goods because y'all help us financially every single month, and we want to appreciate you and salute you as always. Benhameen has we got to figure out a way to get these limited edition stickers out to certain people,
Patreon, get them to the Patreon people.
Oh, there it is.
Throw them in that package all the package
we got to figure out the logistics on that, because that's also that's a handful of more than a handful of people.
Well, if you get something from us, you'll get a sticker with it.
Yeah, we'll always put a sticker. We always put extra, like even we send you stuff, we always put extra things in there anyway. So
these are the limited edition New York Comic-Con.
Yeah, so if you were there in person,
holographic,
and if you were at our panel, you probably got the Views from the 616 almost a Halloween holographic stickers, as long with the For All Nerds holographic stickers. TikTok, make sure y'all follow us on TikTok. We've been posting. I've been posting on TikTok. We have some cute funny things that Benhameen has his Spider-Man TikTok that you need to check out.
New one coming tomorrow or this week. Yeah.
Oh, there's another one coming.
By the time you hear this, there'll be another one up.
Excellent.
Yep.
And did I cover everything besides the Eternals success? Like, okay.
Sexiest Marvel movie ever.